but this is also, um, I hope that this is like an informal kind of time. I'm wearing a tie. I was up in front of a room of people just before now, but I want it to be informal. I've got some slides to kind of go through. What I struggle uh, with these workshops every semester is like you all are in different programs, you're doing different classes, and so you're engaging with research in the library in different ways. So I want to share enough that it's helpful for all of you. I'm going to ask you all some questions along the way, and you can feel free to interrupt me and we can discuss anything so that we can make sure that I'm talking about stuff that's useful for you as well. So I thought we'd start by just introducing ourselves. You all might know each other better than I know you. And then I'm going to have some slides that I'll go through. I'm going to hop on the library website to make sure you know where resources are there. Um, and if we have time, I was thinking I know Zotero comes up periodically. Zotero, if you're not familiar with it, it's a program, it's a bibliographic citation program so that you can like upload information about an article that you find or a book that you find and then use it later. So if there was time, we could hop over there. And I just want to point it to you as one tool that might be helpful for your research. But to get started, I was thinking I would ask you all if we could just go around the room and let me know, introduce yourself, what program you're in, and I'm curious to hear if you are working on anything research related, like a paper that you're writing for a class or that you just wrote or that you know is coming due later in the semester. Just like a sentence or two about what you're writing about. If you don't have anything like that, that's totally fine too. You could either say you don't, or if there's like a paper you wrote last year that you thought was interesting, I'd love to hear about that too. But just so I can hear kind of what kind of research you all are doing or have done. Okay. And I guess and we're a small group. Anyone who wants to start can just start and we can go from there.
All right, I'll
Okay,
start. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
okay, I'll start. Uh, Paulita, okay, I said I would start. Now I forgot what you asked, Evan. You asked for
Just what
you
and
what?
if there's anything you're like writing right now or
Okay,
working on for a class, yeah.
okay. Well, I'm currently in the Ignite program and working on my master's of Christian formation. And actually, I'm in the last two semesters. Next semester, we
Great.
graduate.
Exciting.
So very exciting. Um, there was a class that we had, I believe it was last year about this time, our history class, where we got a chance to do some research um, on church history. And
Hmm.
I did some research. I followed the steps, I think. I did have to connect with one of the librarians at least once. Um, but as I went through that process, I thought, oh, it really would be nice to spend a little bit more time learning how to research in the 21st century.
Hmm.
When I last got my first master's, it was quite a while ago, and um, technology is a bit more robust, and so I thought it would be nice to get some tips about, how to do things a little bit more in modern ways. And I don't have a paper I'm working on right now, but I know that toward the end of our last semester we will have to do a research paper. So that's why I'm here.
Great. For the history paper, were you like finding articles from the Covenant Companion, going through that? Has anyone else
Yes,
worked on that
yes,
recently? Yeah. That and
that was
I've worked with students on that because sometimes if I'm remembering right, like some of it is digitized and you can get it online, and some of it's in our basement. And
yeah.
so I ask you guys like send me an email with what you need, and then I go flipping through them, and that
Yep.
pagination is all weird, so it takes me forever to find it. I think actually, we might have dumped more of those online. So for those of you, if you have the history class in the future, I want to say, and maybe when we go to the library website, I'll just hop over to the archives page. There might be more available, especially like if you're a distance student, to just click on and access. But that's great. I always like when students come from the history class and are looking at things.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Polita. Tim, you want to go next?
Sure, sure. Tim Lewis. And I'm in Ignite Cohort 6, so just getting started. So I know that there is a lot ahead that this will be very, very beneficial for. So that's why I'm here. Just get an idea of how to utilize what we have.
Perfect.
I'm
And what
Lee.
degree program?
Mhm.
Say
Sorry,
again.
Lisa. What degree program are you in?
The Master's of Christian Formation Officer.
Okay, cool. Great. Sorry, Lisa.
I'm,
Go ahead.
no, I'm in Tim's cohort. I also just started for the same program, and we have our very first exegetical paper coming up here in a few weeks for Nathan Clayton, Old Testament.
Yeah.
So
I've been getting lots of meetings with students about that one. Yes. So that one is you all have a passage, right? There are passages to choose from, and then you're writing an exegetical paper about that. Perfect. Great.
right. I kind of drug my feet waiting for this to see how much more it would be necessary to meet with you one-to-one. And I have the stomach flu today, so I'm in all my glory, but I'm holding my head up and I'm going to sit here for an hour and then I'm going to go back to bed.
Okay, great.
Praying for healing.
Oh, I can go next.
Great.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lee, and I'm a part-time student working on my MDiv. And I'm about halfway through. I remember attending this seminar with Brittany Poku maybe like 2 years ago, and it was so helpful to me. So I'm just always looking for tips on how I can be better with my research. I use Zotero and I feel like it's a lifesaver, and I probably only scratched the surface on what its capabilities are. I'm kind of at a crossroads of trying to decide if I want to write a thesis or not. So that's sort of a pivot point for me right now to consider, and whether or not that would be helpful if I wanted to do doctoral work down the road. And then in terms of and I apologize that I'm eating my lunch. So if I turn my video off,
Great.
about that. Yeah, I preach fairly regularly at my church. And so, and we preach out of the lectionary. So I find myself in the lectionary section up on the 3rd floor of the library, and then in the epistles and gospels sections on the 3rd floor. Because we usually preach out of the gospels, not always. And then down by the commentaries. So I kind of have like my 3 spots where I'm always circulating at the library. And then I also access the commentaries online, and never quite understand what we have in hard copy form and what we have online, because there's considerable overlap there. And then I use interlibrary loan through Brandel all the time, which has been amazing.
Okay, great. And are you taking the research methods class in the spring?
No, but maybe. I'm debating. I have to decide quickly. I'm actually not in the covenant, so I already have to do a number of classes through Western Seminary to fulfill my denominational electives. And so I'm not sure. I think it might be inefficient for me to do the research methods class, although I still want to go that route. I have a few friends that are going to be doing it this spring, and it sounds like it'll be great. So we'll see.
Well, if not this spring, maybe a future one. Sounds good. Great. And Pam?
I will be applying for the Masters of Spiritual Formation this spring. And so I thought I should get on this before I even start.
Awesome. That's great. All right. And my name is Evan Kuehn. I might have worked with some of you before, and sorry if I have and I've forgotten. Some of you look familiar to me, and I think we've talked before. But in addition to the seminary, I work with the School of Nursing and Undergraduate Sciences and the School of Professional Studies. So I try to keep my head on my shoulders day to day. But just remind me if we're following up from a previous visit as well. And I think for some of you, I'm new. So just to introduce myself, I'm a librarian here at Brandell Library. I work with the seminary as the liaison, and I teach the research methods class every spring. So this is a class, actually some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about in the next half hour is kind of just stolen from that. And this is a class that students have to take before they do a master's thesis. So if that's the route that you're going, then you take the research methods class before then. And I've done some adjuncting here and there. I taught a class last spring on eschatology at the seminary, and I'm doing an independent study now with someone on soteriology, the doctrine of salvation. So I work with that as well. My background is in theology. I studied at Wheaton College, undergrad, and as a master's degree in theology, and then worked at the Wheaton Library for 4 years. I did my PhD in theology at University of Chicago Divinity School. I wrote my dissertation on Ernst Troeltsch, who is this guy on my mug here. He was an early 20th century German theologian. And I wrote on his eschatology, so that's why I taught an eschatology class this past spring. And before I was at North Park, I was at Trinity International University, just up the road as the theological librarian there. So my job here at the library is just to be a resource for anything that you need. Today, we're going to get into just some basic research methods, how to think about research, and then go into the library website, make sure that you're aware of where the resources are. And I think just beyond this, I would say anytime you want to connect with me, just feel really free to do that. I'm probably like in your syllabus somewhere, like in a paragraph, just saying, go to me. I know you get the library introduction, like a 20-page document or something. I don't know if anyone actually reads it, but it's there, in your files to use. And I'll show up at like orientation events. But even if I'm not actually coming into your class to do some library instruction, you should always feel free to reach out to me, especially if you're doing a paper. But even if you're not, and you just want to like talk about research more generally, or it's something where you might not use the library, but you have a question about it, I'm always available as a resource. I'll do Teams or Zoom meetings with people or meet in person. So if you're a distance student, that's fine as well. That's actually a lot. I think a lot of how I can be helpful for you, if you're a distance student, is connecting you to some of these electronic resources. And we'll look at some of that today. But if you have a question of like, how do I get access to that? I can help you with that. I can help you by scanning some print resources we have here and sending them to you, or we can work on finding a library near you that you can work with. So there's a lot of ways that being an online student can be a disadvantage in terms of access to resources. I'm sure you're already aware, but also like we try to plan our resources so that we can serve those of you who are here online as well. So that's me. And I'm getting glare on my screen too, so I'm trying to find where the share button is here. I'm gonna pivot away from the sun here. Share screen. There we go. I'm gonna.
So like in 15 minutes, around like, I don't know, like 30, 35, come in.
Good.
And they're gonna be working on stuff and you that. That's okay?
Fantastic.
Great.
All right. Someone's unmuted and talking,
Sorry.
which is no. No worries. And you guys can see my screen now?
Yes.
I'm seeing thumbs up. Okay, cool. Let me see if I can put this in present mode. And go up to the top here. Here's present. All right, there we go. Okay, so I've got some